Our presentation is on social context by Bridget, Tess, Stephanie, and Francis.
Social context is the environment of people that surround something's creation or intended audience. Social context reflects on how the people around something uses and interprets it. The social context influences how something is viewed. Think about how you see different things in different social contexts. For example, when you see a movie at a theater with your friends, how does it seem different than when you watch a movie your teacher created for you in class with students? One may seem more like entertainment and the other may ask you to do more thinking. Depending on where you see each one, you will experience them differently. Yuri Bronfenbrenner developed the ecological system theory to explain how everything in a child's environment affects on how a child grows and develops. He labeled different aspects or levels of the environment that influences children's development, including microsystem, mesosystem, exosystem, and macrosystem. These all occur in chronosystem, which is a time period. System in a small, immediate environment the child lives in. Children's microsystems will include any immediate relationships or organizations they interact with, such as immediate family or caregivers and their school or daycare. How these groups or organizations interact with a child will have an effect on how the child grows. The more encouraging and nurturing these relationships and places are, the better the child will be able to grow. Bronfenbrenner's next level, the mesosystem, describes how different parts of a child's microsystem work together for the sake of a child. For example, if a child's caregiver take an active role in a child's school, such as going to parent-teacher conferences and watching their child's soccer game, this will help ensure that the child's overall growth. In contrast, if the child's two set of caretakers, mom with stepdad and dad with stepmom, disagree how to best raise the child and give child conflicting lessons when they see him, this will hinder the child's growth in different channels. Ecosystem level includes the other people and places that the child himself may not interact with often themselves, but they still have a large effect on them, such as parents, workplaces, extended family members, and neighborhood. For example, if a child's parent gets laid off from work, that may have negative effects on the child, and if the parents are unable to pay rent or buy groceries. However, if the parent receives a promotion and a raise at work, this may have a positive effect on the child because her parents will be able to give her physical needs. In my article, they talk about how the students can be affected by living in poverty. If the parents can't help provide for the student, they may have to drop out of school to help the family out. Bronfenbrenner's final level is the macrosystem, which is the largest and most remote set of people and things a child, but which still have a great influence over the child. The macrosystem includes things such as a relative freedom permitted by the national government, cultural values, the economy, wars, and etc. These things can also affect a child either positively or negatively.
To look at a real-life example of social context theory, we can examine 8-year-old Alex. To examine the way his development has affected his life, we can use Bronfenbrenner's bioecological model of human development. The first part we will look at is the microsystem. Within that system, we see that at home, Alex lives in a house with his older sister and mom. Alex's parents are divorced, and he spends 4 days a week with his sister at his father's house, about 15 minutes away. He attends a public elementary school in his mother's neighborhood with a female teacher and 28 students in his classroom. Alex's mesosystem, how the different microsystem parts interact, influences the way he develops. His parents, although separated, both stay involved in his life. They regularly attend parent-teacher conferences and other school events Alex is involved in. This type of interaction is positive for his development as they work together as opposed to being separate parts of his life that do not cross. While parts come together in the mesosystem, it is also important to understand that it can confuse or stress out a child. For example, Alex is at a school-sponsored game night. Both his parents are in attendance, as well as his older sister, friends from class, from his neighborhood, and his teacher. These are all parts of the microsystem meeting up. This can create unease as he may be unsure which role to take. Alex probably acts differently at Dad's than at Mom's, as well his behaviors and requirements with his teacher will be different. Alex may struggle with the stress of the different roles all at once. After the mesosystem, we can look at the exosystem. These indirect things may not seem like they would affect Alex, but they ultimately do. Alex's mom gets a promotion at work. She's making more money, and Alex and his family are more financially secure. This creates a greater sense of ease at home for Alex. However, Mom has to bring more work home and is often distracted when with Alex and his sister. This affects Alex's feelings about his mother and possibly her job. This could make him act out in a school setting, or withdraw. As well, Alex's sister breaks her leg and will be in a cast for 6 weeks. Alex and his sister have a good relationship, and he is used to playing outside with her after school and on the weekends. She was teaching him how to play soccer. This can affect Sam's physical activity in general, possibly making him sad and lose motivation to continue soccer. The final component to examine Alex's development is the macrosystem. Alex lives in an upper to middle class suburban neighborhood at both his mom and dad's home. He is Caucasian but lives in a semi-diverse area. 60% of his school population is Caucasian, 15% African American, 5% Asian, and 20% Hispanic. Most of the students at the school come from similar backgrounds as Alex and live in similar neighborhoods. Alex also has many opportunities available to him. Access to public events and places may be something that not all students have. Alex lives within 20 minutes of a major city, and his parents frequently take him and his sister out to different events offered in the city. This helps to grow Alex's cultural awareness. Each of these areas are important for a teacher to understand about Alex. The most important to look at is the microsystem and mesosystem. These will tell a lot about a student. And just like in Alex's world, things can change quickly. Being able to break down these factors of development help teachers understand their learners, and the context is what is making them who they are.
From popular culture, the film Inside Out provides an interesting look at one child's social context and how they directly affect her. The child, Riley, is an 11-year-old girl. She is an only child whose family has just been moved from Minnesota to San Francisco. She goes to a public school, and in this film we see how the various systems affect her and her emotions, often in a negative way. Riley's entire system has gone through an upheaval, and this provides an interesting look at how each plays a role in Riley's life and emotional state. Her parents are a major part of her microsystem, due to the fact that the other components of her microsystem have changed. She is in a new school, a new home, and a new neighborhood. These all directly affect her day-to-day life and are the people and places that she has primary interaction with. Riley's mesosystem includes her interactions with her parents, including the scene showing a stressful interaction at the dinner table following her first day at the new school. Also, moving into a new home and the introduction into the new school environment occur within this system. The film shows that these interactions within her mesosystem affect her, and that changes to these result in a major adjustment to Riley's life. The exosystem contains things such as her father's work, which changed and resulted in the move itself, and the moving van delay, which caused her home to go without their possessions until it could arrive, and her parents' relationship, which does not directly involve her but affects her. She sees her parents fighting about the father's work and the moving van, and it causes her stress. She does not have her things, and this is also stress-inducing because she is not surrounded by anything familiar to her. Even Riley's macrosystem has gone through upheaval. She still lives in the same country, and those laws and customs remain the same, but she has moved to an entirely different region that has its own laws, customs, and culture that she must assimilate to. Her parents try to help this transition by finding a local indoor hockey team, which then becomes part of her microsystem that she can try out with, but this further shows how something that was centralized in her system in Minnesota, hockey, is on the periphery in this new coastal culture that does not even have the same climate. In my empirical article about the social context of school playground games, it showed, as a result, the positive role that the social interaction of play within the mesosystem had on the children. This introduction of an additional social context has a positive impact on a child's development, and can help Riley counteract all of the negative impacts that the move and upheaval have had on her bioecological system.
Tips. These tips help further understand your students and how social contact plays a role in a child's life. As a teacher, we are part of the student's microsystem. We have a biodirectional relationship with our students, meaning how we treat them is how they will treat us in return. Since a child's two main parts of microsystem are school and home, it is important to maintain a regular home-school contact through phone calls or notes. Make sure when a student is making progress to let the family know to celebrate and acknowledge accomplishments, either in the classroom or at home. Teachers can do this by giving students the chance to win a pizza party, stickers, or even more recess time. When teachers have an authoritative teaching style, research shows that is linked to better grades. How teachers can achieve an authoritative teaching style is by setting clear limits, enforcing rules, and expecting mature behavior, but also being warm to their students by listening to concerns, give reasons for rules, and allow students to have a group vote. With this, it is important to have a least restrictive environment. It is important that teachers let students have the opportunity to show their responsibilities by giving them tasks such as door holder, paper passer, and watering the plants. This gives the students a sense of worth and helps them find their identity. Some students may be victims of aggression and violence at home and shut down in the classroom. If there is a highly competitive activity, this is why it is important that teachers should avoid highly competitive activities to make the classroom a least restrictive environment that it should be. Teachers should do more activities that help build teamwork and their education. Another very important teaching tip is to teach lessons on positive social behaviors. For example, do not steal, bully, or spread rumors, but rather teach lessons on to be kind, listen, and do not be afraid to ask for help. Another teaching tip would be to give students the opportunity to share their culture and embrace who they are as an individual. How a teacher can incorporate this into their classroom is by giving the students a project to see where they were born, what holidays they celebrate, what kind of food they eat, and etc., and present it to the class and learn more about one another and the microsystem. My last teaching tip would be that each teacher should be aware of each student's entire biochronicle model, because of each system plays such a huge part in each child's life. For example, in my Imperial article, it talked about how it is important to not exclude the gifted or developmentally delayed students because it will have an effect on their social context and chronosystem. This is our project on social context. Thank you for listening.